permeable pavement, parking, sidewalks, and streets. Its time has come. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Lisa Marie Coppoletta, and I'm asking for your vote this election for City Council Place 2. To help you understand how I would like to solve problems for San Marcos, I've developed a series of talks that I call the Coppoletta Chats. For this Coppoletta Chat, I'd like to talk to you about a very important issue for a growing city. I want to discuss permeable groundwater surfaces. To define our terms, permeable is like porous, which means that water can seep through the surfaces to a different layer of material below. Now that's the opposite of impermeable, which means water that cannot seep through the surface and consequently has to run over the surface until it finds a lower surface to collect in, like your living room, or until it reaches a drain or porous ground. For our purposes, I will use permeable and porous interchangeably. If there are any scientists out there, please indulge me in this, and I won't call you an egghead. So now let's talk about a problem we have in Central Texas. We live in an area that just until a few decades ago was mostly natural ground and gravel. Then, after World War II, Central Texas, like the rest of the nation, began seeing large-scale infrastructure projects being built. Among them were roads and parking lots to accommodate the great increase in automobiles. It was a general war on natural ground, which was seen as old-fashioned and hopelessly uncontrollable. On a large scale, our federal government built a huge interstate highway system with the original intent to be able to mobilize our military rapidly across the nation in case of war on our land. At that time, the threat was from the Russians. Why they thought the enemy would not use the same road system is beyond me, y'all. Maybe they thought if they could just get the enemy to Houston, they'd never get out. In any case, local governments, even individual families, followed suit. Everywhere paved roads became the rage. Sidewalks became paved. Families paved large areas on their property, all with 1950s material in permeable concrete and asphalt. It was generally viewed as strong and predictable, unlike the natural earth. Turned out it wasn't as strong as one might hope, but it did turn out to be predictable. Predictable in that it would have to be repaired and then replaced every couple of years. Concrete sidewalks are not resilient. They would crack and start to slowly break up after a few years. Roads would constantly have to be repaved. There is a lot of financial interest in keeping with the status quo with concrete surfaces and asphalt surfaces because of the constant repairs and the constant replacements that have to be made. Many of these contractors obviously have become very wealthy. However, the problem with the 1950s material that we are still using today with little modification is that it is really bad for our environment. Rainwater over large and permeable surfaces runs off rapidly into hard rains and contributes to flash floods. When you combine that with the ever-increasing population covering once native ground with roads and sidewalks and parking lots and houses and stores and offices and other buildings, you're cooking up a real disaster. So what do? Although some people might like to, we can't tell all those people to go back to Houston and California. What we can do is to stop using 1950s technology. Hey, we're in the 21st century. There are lots of permeable ground cover options that will reduce runoff, reduce flooding, reduce the need for drainage infrastructure. And y'all know that infrastructure is very expensive to us taxpayers. These alternatives will reduce pollution, by the way, and it will help save our San Marcos River, y'all. There are many options that are available. Our code SMTX could give incentives for our city government, and they could also stipulate permeable ground cover for certain projects before approval of those projects at the P&Z and the city council level. If proper incentives are developed along with penalties for impermeable ground cover, this carrot and stick approach has potential to change the face of our growing community. What are some of the options? Let's take a brief look. 1. Rubberized sidewalks. There's at least one company that makes rubberized sidewalks, and that they are porous and they cost about the same as much as concrete sidewalks that crack up in a few years and quickly end up looking like trash that it is. I will show you a few examples, and I encourage you to visit their website. It's www.rubberway.com. This company takes rubber tires that would otherwise become the ugliest part of the landfill, that takes up hundreds of years to break down, and recycles these tires, y'all, to make a very attractive, porous ground cover that comes in a wide variety of colors. 2. Yes, there are formulations of concrete and asphalt that are porous and allow water to filter through them to the earth. This is a great option for parking lots and lightly traveled streets and roads. What are some of the benefits? First, pervious pavements reduce stormwater runoff, flow rate, and volume. Instead of flash floods, it goes into the ground and on the west side of town. We can recharge the aquifer. Second, the subgrade filters those pollutants, the yucky oil from the cars and the rest of the grime. It's all filtered naturally instead of rushing into a drain that dumps into the dirty water into our river. Third, pervious pavement is less prone to cracking or to buckling from freezing and thawing, and studies have actually shown that it requires less frequent repair and that patching that conventional pavement. Porous pavements need cleaning or vacuuming on the surface once or twice a year to maintain their porosity. Properly installed pervious pavements can last more than 20 years, which is a lot longer than I've seen any pavement on Hopkins last, y'all. Third, another great option are porous paver blocks. They look like bricks, but they are blocks of concrete made to look like pavers, with spaces in between them to allow water to drain into the surface. An example of this is the parking lot on the south side of the river near the statue of Chief Placido. These can come pre-made in large 6-foot by 6-foot sections. Wouldn't this be great instead of a huge flood-causing asphalt parking lot in front of a grocery stores, apartment complexes, and stores? Hey, we can make it happen. 4. Other options for parking lots include gravel and net scheme, like that of the First Presbyterian Church on Hutchison and Mary Street, as well as by the one by Black's Barbecue in Victory Gardens. I think San Marcos needs to do something better than lay down impermeable concrete sidewalks and parking lots and roads. There are many other practical options. Impermeable concrete is bad for the earth, our common home, and it's really making our cities ugly and look like blight, and it doesn't last long before it's cracked up and it looks like trash. I hope that our talk about sustainability is more than tipping our hats in the latest fad, that it will actually lead us to something to make San Marcos really special. Besides the moral issue, looking at economics and streets and sidewalks made with truly sustainable materials will be selling point to attract the type of businesses San Marcos is trying to get. San Marcos could be a leader in Central Texas instead of a follower. We're in this 21st century, yet we're still using 1950s technology for our sidewalks, our parking lots, and our streets. We need to wake up and look at modern options that won't keep destroying the environment. We're in the building stages for this city. The time has come that we need to make a change and do something good for Sister Earth, our common home. How worse do you think floods need to get before we stop preventing the earth from absorbing the rain? Our impermeable sidewalks and parking lots have become a curse upon ourselves. Instant karma. For the sake of ourselves, our children, and for the sake of our responsibility to take care of God's earth, let's start doing something. Let's be porous. Let it make it our standard. This is no longer an economic or aesthetic issue. This is a moral issue with urgency. We need to be able to make sure that we pass on to our children with good conscience. I'm Lisa Marie Coppoletta, and I hope that you've enjoyed this chat. I hope that you will vote for me this November. If you elect me to City Council, I will follow up on these issues and be your voice in our government. Thank you, and God bless San Marcos.